On the left of the slide, I want you to focus on the right. The blue is everybody that's healthy, which is, about half the population, a little more than half. But there's a huge amount of people that have CVI. It's probably it is the most prevalent circulatory disease in humanity. There are a variety of reasons as to why, but suffice it to say, it's a big problem. And if you see the amount that are detected in lime green, because limes are my favorite in a corona, so I put lime there. Those are the ones that are detected, 5, maybe 10%, most of which are in the actual green, which is undetected. So this huge population, tens of millions of people in the US, and the same across the globe. The costs in the US alone are considered to be over $5 billion, and similar to other countries where you have both medical and productivity costs. So when we want to screen for CVI, venous disease, there are a lot of pros. So we talked about the pros: increasing your productivity and medical cost savings, reduce pain. But the cons are you can't have a test that's too expensive with a lot of false positives and negatives, which is basically what we're doing now with ultrasound, which is really a diagnostic tool, not a screening tool. So you look at the various other screening tools that are out there for things like prostate, breast cancer, cervical, arterial disease. They're all not perfect. So some are very expensive, not so available, require a lot of reading and expertise. Thermography is low cost, very available, readable, and the expertise, a lot of whom are in this room, is there. So it sets up for a great screening tool. So this ideal screening method would be something that's point of care, inexpensive, cloud-based, so we can capture the data and make more sense for all of us. Hygienic, which goes kind of with non-contact, very accessible, and safe. Again, thermography hits all of these. So point of care thermography, or POCIT, and I think it's important to add the I for infrared for reasons you guys know, but also makes for a really cool acronym. POCIT, which is different from POCUS. POCUS, by the way, is point of care ultrasound, which is a very big field right now. Point of care infrared thermography will be a very big field by the time we're all through with it. So you need something non-invasive. It's got to be HIPAA compliant in the US, and of course in Brazil they have their version. Many other countries do. Portable, and it's got to connect with devices. So whether it's regular computers or EMRs, PACS system, and those are the kind of things we want to have it, and that's what ThermPix by USA Therm has developed and now has FDA cleared. We did some studies, we published them, many of you are familiar with this. These were sort of landmark studies done a few years ago by myself and David Wright and some biostatisticians out of a couple of well-known universities, basically showing the sensitivity and specificity would make it the absolute best screening tool around. So how do we get widespread screening? Well, you start with getting an FDA-cleared device. So check, provide training. We do that in our New York, South Florida, and some other offices across the US, and now growing internationally. We integrate with AI, something that we've already done now, we're about ready to release to the world. Data share, that's something that requires intersocietal approval, of which we'll talk more about, and then enhance the diagnostics if you do the same, and then you do widespread screening. So this is the megaphone slide I love to show, where we have to have multi-site clinical data acquisition. My published studies were from one site, so they're a great beginning, but now we're in the process of doing multi-site, so across the US in, vascularly approved areas and universities and so forth, present that clinical evidence, get the stakeholders, so everybody who was engaged here, which I'll tell you more about, and obtain CMS endorsement, so Medicare payer endorsement, and then monitor the implementation, make sure it all goes correctly, because that was a problem in the past. Once you do all that, you have widespread community acceptance, and we expect to have that very soon. This is my favorite slide because I'm a huge iPhone and Steve Jobs in particular admirer, and Steve Jobs launched his, believe it or not, first iPhone was just 2007, really late 2007, 2008. ThermPix came about 10 years plus later. We had our first handheld device out of England. Then the App Store of 2008 later launched with 500 apps. We've launched an app store now that is cloud-based for developers, even some of those that may be on this call, where we're allowing people to develop apps for our specific proprietary, but very, understandable thermographic information. So some with people doing AI in a variety of different things, like the diabetic foot, like CVI, even in three-dimensional superimposition. So we're going to, our app store is launched and will be fully functional in 2025. In 2010, 2014, the iCloud Siri multi-device integration started happening. We're looking at doing that right now with the AI and pattern recognition advancements that we have, including putting us into existing well-known PAC systems and EMRs. And then in 2015, they had over $1 billion devices in circulation. We've deployed about 100, so we've got a ways to go. But I think we'll get there over time. At the very least, the platform technology will get there over time. So the leadership right now is in the venous world. We just had our first intersocietal meeting with the AVF, so the American Venous Forum, the AVLS, the American Venous Lymphatic Society, the representatives of also the NCVH, as well as I represented the AAT there. And we basically had Boston Scientific and a lot of other major companies, all stakeholders in making this happen. So if the driving rain will raise all the boats, and we're very comfortable in doing that for everybody. From USA Therm's perspective, we have a lot of IP, US and outside of the US, so got some good patents, but we're also kind of a collaborative company, and we want everybody to enjoy the growth of what we think is this important platform technology. And at today's meeting, this is kind of a time frame. And if you look at the yellow one in October of 2026, we expect to have widespread implementation of the ThermPix device, or at least a point of care infrared thermography. There may be other devices that are also benefiting. We have some specific time frame stuff we want to do. And in particular, we would like this to be an intersocietal thing. We've already hired some consultants, and the societies have all agreed to work together. So this doesn't happen frequently. And we're super excited about this opportunity to take thermography to its rightful success. So better identification of venous disease, better treatment of venous disease. And that was discussed at the Circulatory Screening Council, which was last week in Chicago at the joint meeting of the AVF and AVLS. So we're on our way. USA Therm has a lot of new excitement, and even a new CEO, and just sort of hitting the ground running right now. It's gone through a number of rounds of funding, has recently received more funding, and is probably going to be on a continual fundraising capacity to get to its rightful place. But right now, funding is good. The devices are working great, and we've got a lot of success, both US and abroad. So I hope that helps everybody here in the short and long term, and I'm open to any questions if there are any.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, we have many questions, and we can, I will ask for the speakers all to open their microphone. And software.
Yeah, Dr. Campbell here.
No, please, 1 minute. 1 minute.
You go ahead.
Yeah, okay. And the POC is a significant achievement for thermography, and your creation software, the Thermopix, is fantastic. You are doing an outstanding job with the FDA and the Vascular Surgery Society. Recently, we had the opportunity to witness all of this in firsthand at the event you organized in New Orleans. It was very nice for the Vascular Medicine Society. It was an excellent event that gave colleagues a chance to learn more, to understand what is the vascular infrared imaging. And I have some questions, but you can answer with the others, but and how have your peers been receiving infrared in the medical practice, in vascular medical practice at US at this moment, and when can we expect it? Also, Medicare, you talk about Medicare, and do you have an expectation to start reimbursing doctors for vascular thermography exams soon?
Yes, we do, Marco. So we have on the timeline that I put up there, it was 18 months at the very earliest. I would be prepared to go 24 months. I don't think it'll be longer than that. We have three pathways. One pathway is adding some remuneration to the existing code with the indication of CVI. The second is to have our new code specific to circulatory issues. And then the third is basically bundling it with the ultrasound for mapping, because when we do the ultrasounds, we do millions a year, we get better mapping with thermography, and there is precedence for that in other parts of things that we're doing where you add to an existing separate code. So that's the basic timeline. So we believe within 24 months at the latest.
Okay, so I have the question, but so sorry, someone made the question. Go ahead. I didn't see the name.
I think one of the doctors started to talk, and
Dr. Jim.
Yeah.
I was interested in your imaging. I didn't see many in the way of your image quality.
Look on the USA Therm or thermpix.org, usatherm.com website. Lots of great imaging. We have a very good and long-term relationship with Seek through Santa Barbara, where I visited a number of occasions, and we feel like they represent the cutting edge, and we will continue to maintain that cutting edge as they put out better and better devices. Right now, we feel it's state of the art.
Okay.
I have a question, please, if possible.
Oh, Saad, please go ahead. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. I wanted to ask Dr. Ariel regarding the echo Doppler, the venous echo Doppler, when we can start seeing that there is a real venous problem. For example, when we exceed 1 degree temperature difference between, for example, between two legs or something like that, just to know the threshold that it can be detected through the venous echo Doppler.
So that's a good question. I think it speaks to maybe quantifying versus qualitatively, we feel we have the sensitivity that is as good as, maybe even exceeding ultrasound, particularly below the knee. There's a lot of physics behind that, which is not for this conversation. I'm willing to talk with anybody outside of it, so please contact us either through here or through the USA Therm. But suffice it to say that right now, qualitatively, we believe yes and no for venous insufficiency really very highly based on our initial data, now our multi-site data, and soon to be published multi-site data with venous insufficiency at any appreciable amount. Now, look, venous insufficiency at minor amounts, we're not even sure it's a physiologic problem, but it's significant amounts. So, and we can get into how many seconds of reflux or the diameter of the vessel. But suffice it to say, anything that needs to be treated in its earliest forms, probably even before you see it with ultrasound, certainly when you see it with ultrasound, can be detected thermographically due to the physical properties that can only be seen from deep system core blood, coming distally. So it's the only way you can get a hot. It's much hotter than inflammation. It's much hotter than infection. So, with a high degree of sensitivity and specificity, nothing is 100%. But it's when I showed that slide, like ABI, I think was in the 70%, and that got to be the screening tool for arterial disease. Mammography is similarly not anywhere near 90%, and they're the screening tool. So when you have a screening tool this powerful, you can only expect positive results from CMS. So yeah, quantitative, how much venous insufficiency, like severe, moderate, that's going to be something we do down the line. We have to be very cautious in how we approach, in particular, CMS, because if you try and say too much, you'll get rejected. You have to say exactly what you're doing that you know you can back up, which right now is very clear to us in almost a stoplight, we call it a traffic light fashion, which by the way, we do with AI as well, but either green, that this is definitely a normal leg, red, this is definitely venous insufficiency that would be corroborated with ultrasound, or indeterminate, which happens.
Now, Dr. Campbell again, I can understand how you can easily pick up superficial varicose veins and insufficiency there. How about deep venous lesions?
That is a great question, Dr. Campbell, as always. And we are being recorded, so I need to be very cautious in what I say. And I'll tell you why. We do not want to do what happened with breast in the FDA, right? So we don't want to say anything that we can't have a very high level of sensitivity and specificity. Now, I will tell you that I have personally seen many, many DVTs. In fact, when we diagnose a DVT in medicine, we used to use these Latin terms, and color, rubor, like the way it looked, the way it felt, right? When you had a hot leg, you suspected a DVT. So we know thermographically that's going to show up. The problem is how many times are early DVTs going to be missed that don't have emissivity, don't have transmittability of that heat. That is something that's going to require more research. I do believe with AI, we'll be able to detect it to the point that it'll be equivalent to ultrasound, but that will take some time. And you don't want to capture Europe without having a foothold in Normandy, right? You got to get a foothold. So the foothold, I believe, is CVI. I believe it's an intersocietal thing with the major societies, AVF and AVLS, who are behind this already, as well as key opinion leaders that we've already signed up, and then a little bit of luck.
Very nice.
Go ahead, Marcos. Okay. Yes. For Dr. Soffer, nice to meet you from Uruguay, Professor Machado. In your experience, can you detect correlation about clinical signals from the insufficient communication veins in delta T, quantificate, if you experience about that? Relationship from deltas and correlation from signals, clinical things in the patients from...
You mean like symptoms of patients? And yeah, for sure. Yes, that is something. One of our major investors is this company called Juzo. They make compression, a multi-generational, multinational compression sock, folks. And they basically treat people for symptoms. So our ongoing studies will be symptom related and correlated to the delta temperature difference.
Thanks.
We have many challenges in
Dr. Soffer. A couple of years ago, I actually interviewed you for the AAT. We did a little expert in thermology interview back and forth. And I remember you had mentioned that your threshold for looking at venous insufficiency was a delta T of 3 degrees or more, comparing the hot vascular pattern to the surrounding tissue. I'm just curious, it's been a few years. Has that changed? Have you dialed that in a little bit differently?
Yes, we have. It's been a very good question, and nice to see you again. Great question. Nice to see you again. I do remember that. We've gotten, as the technology has gotten better, and as our and the study populations have gotten larger, we can do a heck of a lot better than that, detecting it even earlier. The biggest question is, when does it not correlate with ultrasound? Which ultrasound is a gold standard because it's what we have. It's not a venogram. It's not, it's also a reflection of sound waves. And it can be manipulated a little bit, usually to the negative, right? So if a person's lying down or hasn't been, standing up much or whatever, even walking too much, they may not have venous insufficiency where they normally do if they're sitting at a desk or standing, as a chef or a stewardess or a teacher. So in the end, getting better and better with smaller deltas is the goal. And that actually starts to speak to how we feel about the DVT and being able to pick up very small temperature differences. It is a, the technology has, since we've gotten better. We have a state-of-the-art Seek Mosaic core. We also have, there's things coming out that will even be better. Our software has gotten better to detect it. We've moved along. We've been doing this, as you know, for about 5 solid years, and probably as many millions of dollars that have gone into getting to where we are today, to secure FDA, to secure IP, to work management, to get through COVID, all the kind of things that we did. And luckily, we haven't had any missteps, other than we're taking our time. We want to make sure that we do this properly with the FDA. Is very they were shell-shocked by mammography, and so politically or otherwise. But so we're we've got consultants to our consultants practically, and we are now commercialized, and we now have deployed a lot of devices. They're all getting rave reviews. We aren't having the kind of glitches we thought with software. We're constantly iterating our software. We put out over-the-air fixes to the software because it's all cloud-based, and it's a great clinical photography tool because we have a high-tech camera along with it as well. The previous company that I started and I sold a few years ago was called RX Photo. So we've been able to close our gap analysis to be very similar to what we did there. So it really, from a image quality perspective, it's working great. We've integrated with PACS systems, so existing radiologic storage systems, as well as the ability to store within EMRs, which is growing. So a lot of work done, a lot of work to be done. I think 2025 we will be in the 4 to 5 figure deployment capacity. Right now, our issue is manufacturing. We've got a bit of a small backlog. We're manufacturing completely in the U.S. So it comes out of Orange County, California, and that was a big move for us because we were initially doing it outside of the U.S. But in the latter part of COVID, that just became too much of a problem to rely on. So we're very bullish, and we hope this helps everybody here. Because a lot of people here are interested in reading and getting more and more people to understand it, and so we think we'll be a help there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just pulling you back to the question: is there a reduced temperature difference you're looking at now? Is it no longer 3? Has it gone down?
Yes, it has.
Specific number?
I don't want to give a specific number yet. We're in the middle of some only because I don't want to give a number that's high. It's getting lower and lower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That was the clarification I was looking for. Thanks.
And what about the guidelines for vascular thermography? We can expect something for the next year?
Yes. A year is a bit rich, but it's possible. The AVF in particular, the AVLS as well. But I've already had discussions with, and I'm going to be at Viva in Las Vegas next week, and then VEITH in New York the following week. So we're kind of doing our roadshow stuff with these societies, and I see a day in the very near future where this might be a requirement to properly look at veins. Now, as you guys know, you can get a requirement from CMS. It takes a while for commercial carriers to make it a requirement, and you have to be very cautious in interjecting new costs into Medicare itself because it's a zero-sum game there. So there may be some hurdles that make it longer than a year, but I am super hopeful that we'll get guidelines done by the end of 2025. And guidelines are guidelines, right? So guidelines they're not laws, but what is a law is remuneration, right? So we think the remuneration will come right after the guidelines. We think both of those will happen. The guidelines will come in 2025, and in 2026 we'll have remunerative capacity, which that becomes the kind of the thing that makes it more ubiquitous in terms of usage in the medical community.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Soffer or the other speakers? If you have any problem in English, I can translate it to the speakers. So go ahead. Rosangela, do you like to make your question? No.
No, I don't have question.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There's a question here is about software. For your device is specific for veins and if
No.
No. Okay. Because the question is if you have a lumbar a sciatica and pain with related to the vein, so it's possible to see these things on the separate these things. So this was the question.
So the question is, from a musculoskeletal perspective, the answer is yes. Veins are, like I say, our Normandy. We're going to push all efforts towards that. We have some specific software for it, but we are actually our simultaneous vertical. I'm not even calling it secondary anymore. Is neuromusculoskeletal. Neuromusculoskeletal meaning everything from diabetic foot neuropathy, which we're already deployed on and people are using, to the musculoskeletal world, which is very interesting to us. I don't know personally. I'm a cardiologist and been doing that for 30 years. So I know a lot about circulation. I don't know what I'm seeing on the musculoskeletal side, other than I know other people feel that they are seeing a lot of us, particularly in the chiropractic world, where they've had experience with it in their training. So we are going down that pathway very, very aggressively to give them the software support they need. Our device also attaches other things. So we can do posture, like clinical photographic posture screening at the same time, because it's got an Android base to it. So we can add some of the things that are already available in the Android as part of our app store, our proprietary ThermPix app store, as long as they're Android based. So, for instance, someone could have a wellness device with ThermPix where they could use it for musculoskeletal concerns like a posture or text neck or all these little apps that they've been using already, and then superimpose it with thermographic data. So that at the very least for now, they can switch between the two. It's also useful as an imaging station. So we have a handheld, some of you may be aware of the butterfly device. So you can use like the handheld Doppler ultrasound that is really cool. You can take it to the bedside. It's a point of care ultrasound and have that image come up on our ThermPix device. This is not it. This is my iPhone, but you could have the ThermPix device display the ultrasound and then switch right over thermographically at the same time. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool. It's not a study you want to do simultaneously because the gel of ultrasound distorts the temperature. But nevertheless, there's some really cool things that happen with that, and that has given us the ability to work with some of these big companies that are making other point of care tools.
Okay, we have to announce that we are in the last minutes. We are finished, but I have a special message for everyone. Thank you so much, Soffer. It was amazing. I have sure that many people will be looking for more information about that. And your work is very important to improve the science and stimulate all the others to looking for new solutions. Go ahead, go ahead.
Well, Marcos, I very much hope that everyone could make next year's, I don't know if we fully announced it or even agreed upon it, but I'm hopeful to redo what we did last year, which is an international meeting in New Orleans in the end of May 2025, where both the AAT hopefully, as well as a lot of these sort of circulatory folks will collide from all over the world to show the data and the forward progress, including business progress that comes from this at the end of May 2025. So more to come on that.
Thank you so much, Soffer. And it's very important everybody to understand, although we are focused on thermography, infrared imaging, we must to understand that this technology must be used with the clinical approach and we must to give a answer to our patients. So it's not just show the image, but okay, there's something wrong here, but what we have to do. So you must to connect point to point all the things. So diagnose, treatment, and go on, and prevention, monitoring, prognosis, etc. So to all the professors who are online here, I want to express how proud I'm of each and every one of you for excellent presentations. Denise, Sergio, Rita, Luciano Balbino, you have a true software, sure. You have truly elevated these events with your knowledge and passion. Many people saying very informative meeting. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Julie and Jan, Kane. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to our President Emeritus, Robert Schwartz. Robert Schwartz, who do the recent hurricane in South Carolina, couldn't be here with us today. So they are trying to fix many things there, but it's okay. There's health. But I'm sure he would be just as proud of the team he helped create it here. Now we have the mission. Everybody here has a mission to carry on this important work. So spread this idea, comment on the LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube channel. We want to hear your ideas, your comments, positive, negatives, no problem. We are here to increase and learn with all. On behalf of AAT, I encourage everyone to become active members. I know most of you are, but there are many that are not yet. And share ideas and participate in the discussions. Did everybody enjoy the event today? If you enjoy, please react here just to confirm. And would you be interested in attending a future event like that, like this one? Lastly, I like to announce that we will be sending an email, invite you all to join our upcoming event. It will be a course, a thermography interpretation course with many of the speakers here, and we'll send it to all registered participants this week with the help of Stephanie. Thank you so much, Stephanie. You were very important to this meeting too. And I'm very glad because we are growing step by step, and I'm very enthusiastic for the next year with many new members, not only from the US, but from Canada, Mexico, South America, Europe. So we understand that we will become, together we will be much more stronger. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or comments in my contacts, or please look for the professors here, the speakers. Most of them have Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel. So you can send to them specific questions or comments. And thank you all for your participation. I'm very glad and I'm very proud of everybody here. So
can I just make a quick comment, Dr. Briosky, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem.
Hi, everybody. Just a couple of quick things is one, I will be sending out the replay link on Monday. It's a long conference, so we've just got to get it uploaded. So just be looking out for that email. Two, if you can follow us on social, Dr. Briosky has included the links in chat. We'd be really grateful. We're sharing a lot of information and we'd like to spotlight more of our members. So if you guys have really good case studies or testimonials or research that's coming out, we want to know about it so that we can spotlight our members and get you guys more information and eyeballs on your practices. That's on we can do that on our LinkedIn, our Facebook, as well as our Instagram. So please do follow us and let us know if you have something that you'd like to be sharing, or especially I think research is very informational, very helpful to our followers. We want to really help get the word out to more people about what infrared imaging can do, how it can help patients, and how more practitioners can get involved. And then also just keep in mind that on Saturdays, as Dr. Briosky mentioned, which will start back up again next Saturday since we had the conference today, there is the medical minutes, which we've had some absolutely phenomenal engagement with and great questions. Those are relatively short. They're typically about 30 to 45 minutes, where there's a presentation that also gets uploaded to our YouTube channel, but they are live links. You'll find all the links to register or to actually log in on our social media. That's on Saturdays at 10 a.m., right, Dr. Briosky, if I remember correctly?
Yes, we have
10 a.m. EST.
Yes, it's very important. I would like that Jean Campbell, please inform us where we find your books, where we can find you recently published amazing collection of papers, and if you could share with us on the chat the link of your book, we'll be very glad.
I'd be glad. I'll be glad too. And it's right here behind me, by the way.
Oh, yes.
You got to advertise. You got to advertise to get it out.
It's academic advertise, so it's very important. It's not something commercial.
And to wit,
mm-hmm.
I hate to be an 80-year-old curmudgeon, but the image quality presented in this meeting is extremely variable. Some has been very poor, and some has been very good.
Okay.
But anyway, you got to have a good linear display palette, spectral, and you have to have good thermal to visual scaling. Do not just let the camera scale it for you. You get the background temperature, and that dilutes out the thermal body findings. So anyway, with that critique,
share
everything's great. Everything's great. And I think that we are really getting ahead in this field.
Okay,
yes.
Share your contact or where to find the books.
Will do.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks so much.
Sorry, Dr. Briosky, I apologize. Coming in. One last little thing is, one, if you want to register to become a member, if you're not currently a member, the link is in the chat as well. So you can register there. We will have a new website up in the next couple of weeks. That's going to make it even easier, but you can register there so that you can go and get access to previous presentations as well as the training. And then also, I did get a couple of questions from you that if there are people that want to watch the replay that have not registered, they can still register and they'll get the email with the link for the replay on Monday. So people are welcome to register. Keep in mind that if you are an AAT member already, you do have a code for that so that people can register for free. If any of your member colleagues ask about that, otherwise people can go ahead and register for that replay because it will only be accessible to people that have registered.
Thank you so much. Good weekend, everybody. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. See you next.
Robert, good to see you.
You too, Jim.